Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mass Appeal on what has got to be one of the top 10 best days of the year. Today, I am here in East Hampton. I'm at Mountain View Farms. It's a CSA. Behind me is a farm. In front of me is Mount Tom. And today we're going to tell you all about gardening, but more importantly, some special gardening that some of these folks are doing here to really help our neighbors in need. This is Andrew Morehouse. He's the executive director of the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts, and Liz Adler. She is the co-owner here of the farm. Now, what I want to know is there's something special. There's a special collaboration going on here. Now, Liz, how'd you get involved, and tell us about the process?
Should I hold this?
Oh, I can hold it. It's
okay.
all right.
Well, this is our 4th season collaborating with the Food Bank. We are a CSA in East Hampton, and we primarily do on-farm shares, and we also bring some shares into New York City. But one of the ways that we work with the Food Bank is we lease a large parcel of land from them, and instead of paying them cash rent for that land, we give them 100,000 pounds of food that they then distribute to their member agencies.
Now, Andrew, I know a lot of people just think when it comes to a food bank and people giving back, it's all about canned goods, but you're actually giving people fresh food. Tell us about your partnership and why it's so important.
Sure. Well, we've been partnering with Mountain View Farm, CSA, Liz, and Ben Peralt for about 4 years now on the Food Bank farm, which is over in Hadley. And as Liz said, we make the land available to Mountain View, and in exchange we get 100,000 pounds of produce. We distribute it every week to pantries and meal sites across the 4 counties of Western Massachusetts, so no one goes hungry. That's our job, and it's wonderful that we're able to make fresh, healthy, chemical-free produce available for individuals and households that wouldn't be able to afford it.
Now, people at home, they can't do what you're doing. They can't just donate fresh food to you, but they can help in so many other ways. Tell people at home how they can help feed their neighbors here in Western Massachusetts.
Sure. Well, they can check out our website, foodbankwma.org. You can consider volunteering with the food bank or at a local pantry or meal site, donating to our cause, or joining us on some of our events. On September 28th, we'll have our
We'll Bike for Food.
We'll Bike for Food fundraiser. It's a great time to get out and ride all around this beautiful part of the world and
if
our
people
country.
don't know a lot about it, it's great, and it's not daunting because you can do the 100-mile century ride, but you can also do a 50, a 25, a 10. So many opportunities to help.
That's right, and then you come back to the food bank and you help us celebrate by having a little bit of food and Berkshire Brewing beer, and we have a good time and listen to music and relax and enjoy what we've accomplished, which is to help our neighbors in need so that they don't go hungry.
And I know it's something that we can talk about all the time, but people can raise canned goods, they can donate, but you can stretch a dollar like no one else. I know it's Money Saving May, but you can really stretch a dollar like few others here in Western Mass. What does cash donations mean to you?
Sure. For every dollar donated to the food bank, we're able to turn that into $9 worth of food because we're a community institution that the community has invested in for the last 30 plus years, and therefore we're able to leverage a lot of donated food and food from other sources so that that dollar donated is the equivalent of 3 meals or $9 worth of food. It's a great social return on investment.
Now, Liz, what I want to know from you is what makes it so important? Why is it that you chose to give back in the way that you're doing?
Well, we definitely really respect the work that the food bank does. I mean, I think for us, learning how much hunger exists in the community was sort of shocking. And when we started growing food, we really felt strongly that access to this kind of food shouldn't be just for people who can necessarily afford to do a CSA. And so it felt like a really natural partnership. We love supporting them.
And I know we've talked about it recently on the show, but a CSA, that's basically a farm share, and people can gather food from you, and it's a great community way to get and give food. So what is a CSA?
So sure, it stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and basically we sell farm shares. We grow over 200 different varieties of about 50 different crops, and we distribute our regular main season share from the first week of June through the last week of October. People come once a week, and everything's picked the same day, and they get whatever's available seasonally at that time, and then they also get access to a lot of you-pick crops. So our strawberries and raspberries and flowers and herbs. It's really nice for families.
And as it's Money Saving May, it's a great opportunity to really pay for something up front and then get a whole lot more throughout the season. So don't worry, we're going to be here all hour talking a little bit about the food bank, but we're also going to be giving you gardening tips. We're going to teach you about container gardening, succession planning, and how to make sure that your soil is ready for the season. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to Ashley in the studio with more of Today on Mass Appeal. Hey, Ash.
Hey, Seth. Thanks so much. Looks like you're having fun in the sunshine. I'm having fun here in Studio 1A.
Welcome back to Mass Appeal. I'm in East Hampton here at Mountain View Farm. It's a CSA. I'm in the greenhouse now, and oh, look behind me. Don't you wish your plants look that good? Well, we're going to tell you how they can look that good. We're with Hannah Doubleday. She's the greenhouse manager here at Mountain View Farm. So today we're going to talk soil. What do people want to look for in their soil to see if it's good enough?
I mean, you know, soil testing is a really important thing you can do to make sure that you're getting the most out of your garden space. Either in the fall or in the early spring, you know, if you haven't planted yet, you could still do this now. You go into your garden beds, and for each area, each bed, you dig, 6 to 8 inches deep in.
So it's 6 to 8 inches deep. It's kind of easy to remember. 6 to 8 inches deep,
Yeah.
and then you take 6 to 8 samples depending on where you are.
Exactly.
And then what's the next step?
You want to make sure that you get at least a cup of soil total with those 6 to 8 samples, and then you throw them into a jar or a bowl. You mix them up really well.
Okay.
And you want to do this when your soil isn't super soggy. It should be,
So today's a great day to
moist.
do it.
It's perfect.
So everybody,
Right.
after the show, go out and do it.
And so then you're going to, spread your soil out on a piece of paper. It can be an old paper bag.
And now is this just to let it dry?
Yep, you want it to be good and dry. So you spread it out. You let it dry, overnight if it's not too humid out, or whenever it's good and dry. You want to measure out your cup of soil. You can put it into a Ziploc bag.
And then you submit it, right?
Yeah, you label it. You can put a little name on it so that you know what area of your garden it came from, because you might be doing this for 4 or 5 different beds.
That's true. And then you're going to ship it off to somewhere, because a lot of places do soil testing. I know UMass has a lab, the Western Mass Gardeners Association has it, and then they come back and give you a readout, kind of what may or may not be lacking in your soil, and then you can amend it with compost.
Right. So they'll tell you, they'll give you some recommendations on what you want to do. But compost is a great, all around amendment.
All around garden saver.
You're getting almost everything you need just adding compost.
Now, if people can do, I don't know if the camera can see over here, we have lettuce. So people, if the ground's already going, people can't necessarily put compost in here, because wherever would you put it? So, Hannah, how do we make compost tea?
Compost tea, you can take a pound of compost.
And put it in a nylon or a pantyhose or whatever the kids are calling it these days.
You can use cheesecloth or whatever. You can also just dump it right into your container and then strain it afterwards.
But we're actually making a tea with the compost.
Exactly. So that's a pound of compost for each gallon of water that you want to use.
And how long do we let it soak for?
Usually about 5 days. You can go in there every day and sort of mix it around. And then at the end of 5 days, you can put it right into your watering can and put it right on the soil.
Perfect. And people also, I know if you've gone to a garden center, you've inevitably seen all the different kinds of compost. They make them from cow manure. Lobster compost is a big thing, fish.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways that you can do it if you haven't planted yet. So people should get testing and then get planting, because this is about the time, right? In a week or two, we're going to want to start planting in the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Things like lettuce you could already have in the ground, but your hot crops like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, those are all going to go out in, a week or two.
Perfect. So everybody better get planting. Head to your local garden center. Now, later in the show, we're going to tell you a couple of cool things. We're going to talk about succession planting. And so what that enables you to do is have fresh lettuce and spinach all season long without skipping a beat. And we're going to be doing container gardening, right?
That's right.
So we're going to show you, even if you don't have a big space, if you have a container like this, you can grow some pretty tasty vegetables. In addition to that, we're going to head back into the studio, and we are going to make some pretty delicious coleslaw. Welcome back to Mass Appeal. I'm in East Hampton. I can see Mount Tom if I just look outside of the greenhouse that I'm in, and that greenhouse is Mountain View Farm in East Hampton. Now, we're going to talk about succession planting. By the way, if you missed it earlier, this is Hannah Doubleday. She is the greenhouse manager. She's making all of these plants grow just so very well. But we're talking succession planting, and this is a great way for people, even if they have a little bit of space, to have great greens all season long.
Yeah, exactly. People think of summer as being, salad season, but the fact is lettuce doesn't really like hot weather. And so a great way to make your lettuce last is to plant, a couple weeks supply every other week. So this is some lettuce that we planted 1 week ago.
And you can see we already have tiny little leaves.
Yep. So those are the cotyledons.
And
They're
then
first seed leaves.
So the 2 leaves are special in planting. And then, because what are those called? Do they have a special name?
The cotyledons are the seed leaves, yeah.
And then once it goes from there, then it starts multiplying.
Yeah, then the true leaves come out.
So this is
that
about
you would recognize as
one
lettuce.
week in, did you say?
This is 1 week old.
Okay.
This we planted 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And this we planted 5 weeks ago.
Now, is this about the time we're harvesting?
If you're doing this at home or in the garden at this stage, you could start, either pinching leaves off the outside to put into your salad bowl.
And just to show people how that works, I think a lot of people might kill the plants when they try to do it.
Yeah.
So if they have it here,
you can
1 inch.
You can either pinch leaves and not take the whole plant, or you can go about 1 inch off of the soil, and you're going to cut straight across.
Now,
And
if you cut, is it going to come back and grow back again?
It is. You put what you cut off into your salad bowl, and you keep watering the stems that are left over. And then they will, you want to give them a dose of fertilizer as soon as you do that, and they'll sprout lettuce back up.
So it's like the salad that keeps on giving.
It is.
What other things can you succession plant?
You can succession plant, spinach. Lettuce and spinach are important ones because they're really cool weather crops. And so if you just plant one batch at the beginning of the season, then whatever you don't get to by the time the hot weather comes, they're going to bolt, which means they're going to flower.
And then once you've done that, it's no longer lettuce, it's just a mediocre looking plant.
A big stalk with some flowers on top, and the leaves are going to be bitter. During the summer, you also want to make sure that your lettuce is getting lots of water, because if it gets hot or dry, then it's going to get bitter.
You were telling me earlier, there's a couple tips out there if people want to buy the seeds. You want to get ones that say heat resistant, and you're also going for bolt resistant?
That's right.
Excellent. So these are great tips. By the way, if you want even more information on the things that you've learned today or going to learn in just a little bit, go to mymassappeal.com. Or if you want to learn more about the food bank, go to foodbankwma.org. Well, we've stepped outside of the greenhouse. We have a gorgeous farm behind us. I can see Mount Tom, and we're talking about container gardening, because you don't need a greenhouse. You don't even need a lawn like this to do it yourself. We're back with Hannah Doubleday. Hannah, container gardening, people can do it relatively easily.
Absolutely. Like, even if you only have a little bit of space out on a porch or just a sunny window, you can grow a variety of things. Salad mix is really easy, or lettuce. In a container this size, a basket, you can just take any basket and line it with a plastic bag. You want to make sure there's some holes punched in the plastic bag for drainage, because you never want to plant anything in a container that doesn't have drainage.
So it's easy enough. And then in here, what would you recommend for a surface area this big?
Something like this, and especially a lot of times it has to do with the depth of the container. If you're planting lettuce, you only need a container that's at least 6 inches deep.
Because the roots are relatively shallow.
Exactly. And so you could plant one head lettuce in here, or you could put salad mix. You could sort of cover the surface with salad mix.
So this is great for people who don't have a lot of lawn space or don't want to dedicate it, because once you rip the grass out and turn it into a garden, that can be something, if you're not committed to it, that's not a great idea.
Right.
But now what you have here, you can get these in the store for maybe $2, and sometimes they're even filled with soil. And you could turn this, like you've done here, into a little salad garden too.
Right. If you just put one lettuce seed in each of these, then you let them grow up, and we talked earlier about like cutting lettuce and letting it come up again. You could do that in here. Let your lettuce get 6 inches tall, cut it off into a salad, keep watering it, and let it come back.
And then you have another salad at a later day. And this stuff, salads especially, are expensive. So if you can do something like this, you're talking $2 for the soil, $2 for this, and $1 for seeds. You're getting multiple salads for well under $10. Now, stepping up, we have some larger vessels here. Things like tomatoes. If people want to grow some tomatoes in cans and canisters, they need a lot more space. Yeah,
tomatoes really need at least like a 5 gallon, 5 gallons worth of soil. This is a 5-gallon bucket. And you could plant tomatoes, one tomato plant right in here. You want to make sure that you put some holes in the bottom so it has drainage again. But you can put a support in there, or plant, a bushier variety of tomato.
Oh, yeah, you can maybe put even like a miniature trellis up here so you can have them grow up it. And moral of the story, most anything can grow in a container if you do it the right way. And there's so many books at your local library, or all these resources online that people can use to figure out how they want to do each individual plant, each individual container. Hannah, it's a pleasure being out here. Oh, I'm envious of you. The greenhouse is gorgeous. It's a great day. Everybody head outside later today. Really enjoy yourselves. But don't go anywhere. There's more Mass Appeal right after this. Take a look. We're looking at Mount Tom on what's got to be one of the top 10 days of the year. So we are in East Hampton. We've been spending the show giving you all sorts of gardening tips at Mountain View Farm. It's gorgeous out here. There's so many messages I think we need to leave you with today. It's nice out. Get up and get outside. You can also start a garden. You don't need a big lawn to do it. You can do container gardens. You know, it's Money Saving May. And a tomato plant is no more than $1 or $2. And if you plant it, you can have some really tasty tomatoes all year long. Or you can even try succession planting or throwing some lettuce on a garden flat. And this way you can have homegrown lettuces that won't cost you a whole lot of money. There's so much you can do. And we also want to say that you should go to the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts' website. That's foodbankwma.org. While you can't grow food for them, there are so many different ways that you can help them throughout the year. And they really help to provide so many people in Western Mass food who absolutely need it. So that's all from here, from Mount Tom, from East Hampton. But for now, I'm going to send it back into Chicopee and to Studio 1A to check on that coleslaw.